Pulse 95. Between local lines, notes from the Emirate.
Busy studio today.
Absolutely.
Very busy
We
studio.
haven't had a busy studio in such a long time.
Yeah, we haven't had it. I have had to press all the 4 microphone buttons, and I was
That was
like,
the
whoa.
first in a while.
It's like playing a piano. Now, it's been a first in a while. It's been a while since
Has it been a year? Probably been a year.
Over a year, yeah, definitely over a year. I think now, for the Emirate of Sharjah as well, it's been over 7 months now since we've had proper massive events. Sharjah International Book Fair is going on. We now have an arts exhibition all about design, and it's the Desert Cast that's taking place over at the Flag Island. And to celebrate that, we've got the artists with us and designers all the way from Kuwait. Kawther, Jassim and Talin. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so let's start with the ladies. Talin, talk to us about you guys being here. How does it feel like to be part of this event in Sharjah?
Yeah, I think like it would be better maybe to start with Kawther and Jassim.
All right.
We're the starting. So I'm based in Sharjah.
Okay.
So basically we collaborated in this project.
Okay.
And Desert Cast started and it was initially starting from Kuwait, and then they brought this project to Sharjah, and I was like, that's where we started the collaboration.
Okay.
So maybe like they can start.
Okay, let's start the let's pass the podium and the conversation over to Kawther and Jassim. Kawther?
So let me start introducing Desert Cast and explain where Talin came in.
Yes.
So Desert Cast is actually originally an exploration of the design language in Kuwait and how we see what already exists and how we can take it forward. So we looked at the architecture, the craft methods, and it's a collaboration between myself, Kawther Al Saffar, Jassim and Nashmi, and Ricardas Blazoukas, who is not with us. He's in Kuwait. And then the part where Talin came in was we wanted to see how Desert Cast applies to other Gulf countries, because this concept of orientalizing our culture or importing culture applies to all of the Gulf, but in different ways. And Talin, through her research, found how it's different from Kuwait, but also has its own wealth of language, of expressions, and intention. Yeah, so I'll let Talin talk about her own collaboration a little more.
So that's where I started kind of looking at what they have done in Kuwait, and how it actually came over. I mean, and we're looking at the same kind of process and materials around Sharjah, and then we were kind of focusing on the identity of how Sharjah is kind of also known for its kind of architecture, the Islamic architecture and patterns, and the motifs that are all around. And the soonest you enter Sharjah, you kind of you're actually in one of those of the city of Sharjah, or even further to Khorfakan, you'll still kind of relate because of the architecture and the motifs, the strong kind of presence of those motifs. So it was a very interesting collaboration where we're kind of finding the similarities between the two research and the two kind of different countries, and how we have so many similarities yet a lot of differences as well. So in Sharjah there are a lot of emphasis on mostly the government building that has a very strong presence, and kind of integrating different motifs from the Fatimid and the Andalusi period. And it was interesting through a lot of interviews with the architects, with the consultants and designers who designed those buildings, and also the factories around, to kind of come up with the research, and come up with also the sculptures and work that start this dialogue between those buildings and the people, and kind of start these questioning those elements and the materials around.
So this question is for Kawther and Jassim. So I want to know what were your first impressions on the art scene here in Sharjah, and how is it different from Kuwait's art scene? You can also talk about the collaboration between the two. How did Kuwait's art scene, how did it impact or add to Sharjah's art scene as well?
Yeah, there have been a few Kuwaitis that have exhibited in Sharjah, in Maraya Art Center, Sharjah Art Foundation. There's been an interesting collaboration as far as I know. This has only been the past couple of years. But the Kuwaiti scene is mostly has, you know, Kuwaiti artists exhibiting, but also there are artists that are, you know, curators are bringing them in. We're, as Kuwaitis, getting that kind of exposure from their work, and then it kind of influences us to have a kind of global vision, you know, as opposed to having a very limited understanding of art. And then in Sharjah, it's been pretty interesting. Like, I think culturally, it's pretty advanced. I mean, there's the Russian artist mural that Maraya got to paint their building. There's the Islamic Arts Festival that they have here in Sharjah, which is really fascinating. It's bringing artists from all over the world, Muslim or not, that are working on Islamic art and breaking the boundaries of Islamic art into something that we've never seen before. So I think it's in a lot of ways Sharjah is basically trying to break different boundaries that have been stagnant for a while.
Nice.
So guys, talk to me about the current exhibition going on at the 1971 Design Space. If I'm a listener of Pulse 95 at the moment and would like to go and check it out, give us a visual tour of what I can expect. What can I see as soon as I walk into the doors and the artwork that you've brought in from Kuwait?
Well, when you walk through the doors, you'll see the explanation of what the exhibition is about, and it explains something that looks very abstract in very concrete terms, explaining the identity, why we think it's important to look at our identity and how it relates to the global design scene. And I think that that's important for the collaboration between Talin and ourselves, and between Kuwait and Sharjah. It's that we are all living between different cultures, and we want to really emphasize that and show how it affects our work, and how we're not just Kuwaiti, we're not just from the Emirates, we're global citizens. So when you start looking at the work, you'll see this giant plinth design that we've done that's out of these plaster extrusions. So it looks, from far away, it looks quite amazing, it's startling, it's white. Completely white, but then when you look closer, there's all these little details. And you see the local process. And on the plinths, you'll see the sculptures that we've made. The previous collection from 2018, which we exhibited in Dubai Design Week, and the new collection we made this year. That's on the opposite side, and the profiles that were taken from the gypsum factory. So there's a lot of emphasis on craft and process, and looking at details in that craft and process.
I'll just add that when we had the first half of the exhibition, like this project started, the collaboration started 2 years ago in Dubai Design Week. That's the first time that we started Desert Cast and did the first series of sculptures. Then we tried to talk to people about it in Dubai Design Week who were coming and seeing it. And the concepts we were talking about were very abstract for passers-by, that it was taking us a while to explain everything to them, and that's because we were only showing the sculptures. What we really wanted to show was the whole story of where is this coming from, what are we talking about. So when we say that people's homes in Kuwait and in the UAE are being inspired by Roman and Greek classical architecture, and we're taking those motifs of classical architecture and bringing it into our work to make a statement and criticize the identity, it's a bit too much for people to understand. So this exhibition for us was, a big part of it was to not only to show the new collection, but also to really tell the story. So when you walk into the space, you're seeing these prints and making an immediate connection between the houses and these kind of decor gypsum pieces that people use in their houses and the new sculptures, and you make an immediate connection. And also yesterday there was a performance by one of the gypsum factories here in Sharjah that basically makes these decor pieces. They were in the space making them, so people make an immediate connection between where the idea is coming from and the new sculptures.
Amazing.
Very nice.
Well, Talin, I've got to ask you this question. I think it's a very personal question as well, because a lot of artists have this thoughts of, whenever they create, it's for themselves.
Mhm.
And whenever they see someone else doing a better job, they think, oh, great. And in the back of their thought, they're thinking, damn, I could have done something better. I could have done something like this. So artists have always got this competitive element always attached to them. So how does this come together and you say, and an artist coming together and saying, I need to collaborate? What drives you towards this collaboration and say, okay, I accept your culture, I accept your style of work, I'm going to incorporate my style of work with yours, and working together is so challenging because artists love saying, no, my work is better.
I actually, I'm
You
not
wanted to-
sure.
okay.
Yeah, so I think it's important, like, because we understand each other so well, and like we know like the field and like where we're coming from, and also we have kind of as well like the same method and like way of communicating, or the process itself, like what kind of like unify us. And like as well there's a lot of like the research, the passion of actually understanding what we're surrounded with like to reveal a lot of things that we are kind of like living through it, but in a different perspective. And that's where I feel like it's kind of like it's not about, you know, the end results, like mostly like it's not about, I mean, like it's important to how we're communicating the pieces at the end, but it's very important like the process through it. So it's all about, I mean, like what unify or what makes us closer is like how we have approached the research together and in different countries, but still like there are a lot of similarities and raising like very similar questions, but they're taking different, let's say, I mean, inputs from other people, from the city, from the people you meet from this country and from Kuwait. And so it's really interesting because there are a lot of, I mean, as much as like there are a lot of similarities, because also the industry has actually reached out to the Gulf as well in the same period, the GIPS work. So it was interesting to also look at how each city has taken it in a different way. And I don't see it as a competitive. I mean, like, I don't know, like usually it's interesting because we learn from each other.
Yeah.
So it's not about like making, and that's the thing, like it's not always about like what also like we were mentioning, it's all about the process, it's not about the outcome. Because like if we're just like focusing on the outcome, it's just like a medium or a way to kind of understand and raise questions. But it's mainly about like what went through to actually produce the final, or like let's say this piece that has kind of you know a material, like it's an object or materialized in a certain way. But yeah, that's what
a lot of influences.
I feel like we had to work with someone that was on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could have this like competitive nature, or just not be interested in collaborating with someone else just because you don't see the chemistry.
Right.
And so in the beginning we're like, Talin seems like someone that if we start talking and explaining, she's gonna understand this. She's gonna take that idea, interpret it in her own way, and do something fascinating that we never would have done with our kind of style. And so basically, it's not a clash of styles, but a mix of styles, a very nice mixture that we were like a hybrid that we were happy to make happen.
Wow.
I think one of the things that's been important for us is accessibility, and that we're in countries that really need the help to join the global design scene. So it feels selfish to say this is about me or this is about my style when there's so much that needs to be explored and so much that needs to be discussed. So when you're looking at these materials, they're very accessible, but the general population doesn't realize that. So seeing how easy it is to manipulate gyps or how easy it is to manipulate metal, you start to see that it really isn't a clash. There's so much to investigate together.
Talk to me about, if we can very quickly, you know, we love celebrating art, we love having events, we love everything about to do with the clash, the mixture of cultures. But there's a very important element that we sometimes often ignore, is the support that we get on the ground. So, you know, the team at Design Space, Fatma was here yesterday, Sharouk has also been supporting it a lot, Design Space as a venue. How important is that support and a big boost to say, guys, and the pat on the back to say, no, guys, go ahead and we want to celebrate art? How important do you think this governmental support is in creating such an event?
it's extremely important. And like and that's like where I mean, Fatima and the whole team, they were like huge support of the whole process. I mean, the energy of like as well like of things, and I mean questioning things and how to make as well to communicate it the best way, and like how to have everything kind of accessible and like to everyone's like reach. I mean, it's incredible. And this is not, I mean, that's like in the Emirates of Sharjah as well, and also like in the UAE, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of kind of platform to kind of explore different things, different themes, different topics. So it's really kind of, I mean, interesting to see how things are kind of like, I mean, it's just kind of the right platform, and it's just like the right topics to kind of like, you know, talk about and explore. And they've been, I mean, great. Yeah, like there was a lot of interesting as well, like conversations that happened, and I mean, it's just like part of like, you know, the whole team. So, yeah.
I just want to add, we were very, very grateful for the support, and this project, when it happened 2 years ago, since then we've been wanting an opportunity to really tell the story of the project and to really take it to the next level, to have a publication along with it, with essays written about the work and essays written about the concept and the whole story, the history of how this is all developed. And we got that, you know, with the 1971, a full space dedicated to this project, which we're waiting for the moment where we're going to get not just a little bit of support, but a lot of support from an entity, and we got that.
Can't wait to see those public installations at or by this amazing art collaboration that you guys worked on. We're talking about the Desert Cast exhibition that's taking place in 1971 Design Space at the Flag Island. It started yesterday and it's going until March 27th, right, guys? March 27th, it will go until that. So for people who want to visit it, what are the words or statements of encouragement for them? Why should they visit it? Why should they go? Last words, let's say.
See something different in this pandemic period. But the topic, I mean, the title of the exhibition is towards an identity.
Yes.
نحو هوية. So we're you know, it's a big kind of bold statement to say that maybe do we have a design identity? Do we have one? What are we talking about? What we're doing is opening up a conversation. So people should go and they should discuss this topic of, you know, whether they like the work or not, to discuss the idea of identity, UAE's identity, Kuwait's identity in the design world, and hopefully have this, you know, healthy debate about this topic.
Inshallah. Kawther?
I think exactly what Jassim said, but I'd add that it's not just about designers, it's about the general population joining this conversation, because that's how our economy and our world vision will grow.
Talin, final words?
Yeah, I mean, like exactly like what they already mentioned. Like, I think it's important as well. I mean, like everyone, it's important for this interaction to happen and to kind of like have people coming again. I mean, just like, you know, to exhibitions and to, and it's a very interesting locations because it's kind of like attracting as well, like the public. So, I mean, it's good to have everyone as well back.
Well, it certainly is. We'll look forward to that. I think our team will also plan our trip over to the 1971 Design Space right after our show. Let us know on the text lines 4215 what you plan to do, and if you'd like to catch this conversation and do a bit of a recap, if you've just sadly just joined us, you can also catch this conversation on YouTube and SoundCloud and Apple Podcast. That's where you can find and hear from these artists. Jassim, Kawther and Talin, thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you guys.
It's all about Desert Cast over at 1971 Design Space. Stay tuned. This is the Morning Majlis. We shall return right after the business news headlines.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Bubbles.